When you think of high school football here in Charleston, you think of one name, Coach Earl Brown. I had a chance to talk exclusively with him for a special edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. Well, the last time I saw you was on September 22nd. I was actually en route to tape an interview with Robert Ford at Hampton Park, and I ran into you at Rutledge and Grove.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I haven't seen you since then, so tell me, how are you?
Doing great, doing great.
Yeah.
Just trying to stay busy.
Yes.
And get my exercise in with my walk.
Yeah. And since that time, a lot of big stories have been happening.
Mm-hmm.
So describe to me the following in one word. The watermelon celebrations at Academic Magnet.
I think the one word that would describe that would be tragic.
The firing and rehiring of Coach Walpole.
Well, generally that's what happens when adults are in charge of young people and actions such as that take place. And I think the superintendent probably did, I would say, the right thing until they fully researched the situation. And then looking at what happened, there are some instances in there wherein if he had known about what they were doing, then the rehiring should not have occurred.
Right.
And then there are some things that he should have picked up from that situation. When the kids were naming the watermelons, one was named Bonds Wilson, one was named Junior. And you think about that, Bonds Wilson, when you smash that watermelon, you're smashing Bonds Wilson, which says that you want no more identity with Bonds Wilson, even though your school is built on that site. And I think that is known as the Bonds Wilson campus. And it goes back to Bonds Wilson was predominantly black,
Right.
named for blacks. And to name that watermelon Bonds Wilson and to smash it, somebody should have picked up on that immediately.
Yeah.
Junior, that's a name that's very seldom used with reference to whites and white men in particular. Junior is a word that's very seldom used, but it's a common use of a name among us. So when you say Junior, and if I were to ask you, where is Junior? Who do you think you would be looking for? White kid or black kid? Okay, and it's usually black. So some of those things should have been picked up.
Okay.
And but then again, it goes back to the rehiring of Bud.
You've known him for a long time.
Yeah, I've known Bud a long time, and he would never let you pass without speaking. He was just always a cordial guy.
Yeah. And speaking of football, let's talk about Burke High School. I know they're going through some transitions right now with their football team. And I know that your son is the head football coach right now. So tell me, what letter grade would you give him as far as performance?
As far as his performance, I would give him an A. To just be in games under conditions that he's coaching under. You got 17 kids, and most of them are no bigger than kids that are out there playing on the playground. And when you look at what he has to choose from,
right.
and he chooses from what comes out there, and that's those 17 kids. And then there's a situation that I guess all programs are dealing with when it comes to athletes. You've got a lot of kids that make up athletic teams at other schools that are from the Burke community.
Right, yeah.
And of course, that's the choice of the parents in some cases, and choices of the kids. But the lack of the athletes right now is the problem, and then the lack of dedication on behalf of the ones that are there.
Yeah, it's not like it used to be.
No, it's not. And there have been years when the kids were there that had years like this, but in recent years, more recent years, the kids have been competitive and have done well. it's from 2008 or 9, from 2009 to 2011. I think we won 3 consecutive region championships in football.
Wow.
And my son won one of those, and then I was the head coach at 2 of them. So it's been good in early years.
And speaking of good, let's talk about March 21st. It was when you were actually inducted into the South Carolina Basketball Coaches Association's Hall of Fame in Columbia. Tell me, when you put back in your memory hat, what was that day like for you?
It was a great day, and one that, believe it or not, in the past couple of years that I knew was going to come. But then as I stood there, even though that day came, I had to think about those people that got me there. And that's those kids that have played for me over the years, and those parents who entrusted their kids to me. And, being the type person that I am, and that's, I'm going to get the best out of them. Yeah. And that's not always easy. It's not always pretty.
Right.
But somehow the parents, even though some folks in the community didn't understand, but the parents understood.
Good, yeah.
And, just want to thank them, for putting up with me.
And something that wasn't easy was really going to Baptist Hill. Talk to me about who Coach Earl Brown was as a head football coach at Baptist Hill versus Coach Earl Brown at Burke High School.
Yeah, well, basketball. Well, the thing was, the thing is that to a degree, and I'm going to tell it like it is, you almost forced out to go to Baptist Hill. As you know, about what was that thing, about 3 years ago?
Right. Summer of 2011.
Yeah, when that little situation occurred, it was one that was thought out by the administration, believe it or not, because after I found out that my job was being advertised, the present administration and some other people had already planned who they were going to hire to take over that position. And being that it was a situation that was never discussed with me, I just let it be known that I was just not going to sit down and take it like that. And when the reasons were given for them wanting me out was that, what was the reason that was given? I think it was that, I had completed Terry and all of the folks who had completed Terry, I guess coaches, they were sort of weeding them out, but I was the only one, and to this day I was the only one displaced.
Wow.
Okay, and then for someone in the administration to make such a ludicrous remark to the effect that the only thing that I was certified in was driver's ed. I mean, it was stupid. And anybody who thought of something like that was actually stupid. And if I must say, it was an asinine statement. Because here I am, I've done graduate work,
everybody
and everything, and certified in several areas. And to try to lowball me and say the only thing that I was certified in was driver's ed I just said stupid. And when I think back about that situation, I'm mad at myself for really not pushing it further with the administration and the person that in that administration that had that to go to print. And when I look back at it, I'm at Baptist Hill. I was at Baptist Hill
right.
because they wanted basically everybody out of Burke that was going to have a strong say in what they're trying to do now and what they are doing now.
Yeah.
And that is taking it over.
Wow.
They've got folks that have no ties to the community that's making a lot of decisions, and when they screw it up and mess it up, they're going about their business. But now, being out of Baptist Hill, it was 2 great years.
Yeah.
I had some great kids, great parents, a great community, and it reminded me of basketball days at Burke High School. When you come into the gym, there's so much enthusiasm on the part of the students, the players, and the parents, and the community. And I enjoyed that for the past 2 years. They were some of the greatest people that I had the opportunity to work with.
And let's talk about Marion Brown, who brought you on board. Because from what I read, you actually taught him in the 5th grade at Mount Pleasant Academy.
That's right. I taught Marion and his wife in 5th grade. I gave Marion his first head coaching job.
I remember that.
And then he gave me my last.
So what was that like? Because really, that was a full circle moment, Coach Brown.
Yeah, really, it was. It was. And who would have thought back in 1971 that something of this sort would have happened?
Yeah.
And even with this young man, and it just so happened that he was one of those kids that I got close to when I was teaching them in elementary school. And there was a question that they asked me about my job one day, which I was a PE teacher.
Right.
And we were having so much fun in class that day, and they said, Coach Brown, he said, you get paid to do this? I said, yeah, this is my job.
Yeah.
And he said, well, I'm going to get a job just like that. And here he is.
Wow, all those years later.
Mm-hmm.
And let's talk about the time in summer of 2011, that is. Mm-hmm. And you talked about this extensively. But I remember when I talked to you a couple of days after you being reinstated, you basically said this, quote, "It's great to be back. It's great to be back. The reaction of the city and the colleagues was one of the positive ways, and I think it's just that the things they did was very instrumental in the decision that was made. And of course, the superintendent made a decision that was based in the best interest of students, and that pleased me even more, because it was not all about me, but she felt that her decision was based on what students needed and what was best for them. So put back on your memory hat and tell me, was it really great to be back?"
Yeah, to do what needed to be done.
Yeah.
And but still, it was back with a degree of animosity, because it was a situation that never should have occurred in the first place.
Yeah.
Okay. And there were a lot of things, and I think I was thinking out of the box. And when Nancy McGinley first came to the CCSD district, I presented a thing to the superintendent at that time, who was Dr. Goodlow.
Right.
And it was a program that would have given Burke and the community everything that was needed to attract other students to the school. And I was adamant about that program being put in place. And I think that was presenting some problems for some people. And when you look at it today, some of those same things are being piecemealed into the curriculum. And to give you an idea of what it was, and it was my son Earl's, I think it was his junior year or senior year. We went to play in a tournament in Louisville, Kentucky.
Yeah.
And we were at Louisville Central High School. And Louisville Central was a school similar to Burke. And they were going to close it down. But there were businesses and professionals in that community who got in partnership with the school. And when they got into partnership in the school, they changed the curriculum. And the curriculum was changed to a curriculum where the kids were offered courses like dentistry, pharmacy, veterinary science, law, medical secretaries. They had, and then there were several other programs, home health care, and then today, if that program was there, you'd have had other things now, like forensics in a program. That program would have grown, and what that program would have done, it would have drawn other kids, white kids, to Burke School. Those kids would not have been catching buses going to West Ashley, Porter Guide, or whatever, because Bert would have had what those kids wanted. And what parent who was a dentist would not have sent that kid to Burke School to get that foundation in dentistry? And then with the business aspect of it, Kentucky Fried Chicken had given those kids a franchise on campus to operate. So anybody in business would have learned to operate a business from the custodian up to the manager. And that's the kind of stuff that myself and a couple of my colleagues brought back. And I don't know if you remember Miss Andrea Hine.
I do.
Yeah, she and one of the young counselors and Mr. Foster, Miss Edwards, and myself, we sat down and we worked out that program to a point where, I mean, it was going to be a great program for the kids. For example, if you were there at the time, you would have had the choice of 4 of those programs as a freshman. Then, as a sophomore, you'd pick the 2 of the programs out of the 4 that you liked best because you would have spent a 9-week as a freshman and those things. So now, as a sophomore, you pick 2, and you would spend a semester in each one. Now, when you get to be a junior, just like college, now which one of those are you going to major? You're going to major in dentistry, or you're going to major in pharmacy? So now, when a kid has that opportunity, who wouldn't want to be in a school like that?
Yeah. You're just trying to set them up for college.
Exactly. Who wouldn't want to be in a school like that? But at the time, Academic Magnet was on the campus. And the argument was that, well, we, being Academic Magnet, we need that space more than you all do. Here it is, you invited guests into the living room. Now they want the whole house. And these were some of the things that had gone on. And some of those things that I never sit down and take. So I was one of those guys that I guess sometimes presented headaches. And but going back to 2011, you said summer 2011. It was it was not good for that administration, and it's still not good. And like I said, it's sometimes I'm mad at myself for not even pushing them further.
And where were you emotionally, when they took when you were trying to implement these programs, but they didn't want to listen to you?
It was hard. It was hard. And I gave copies of that program to several parents and several black leaders.
Sure.
And I, in this last move, moving from the office out of the school, my copies of those things were lost, and I was still pushing it. I was still pushing it, but there were folks who were in positions that I think some of them were just afraid, and they just went along with whatever they were told to do, and not think out of the box.
Well, from bad news to good news, let's talk about your 700 win in December of 2011. Put back on your memory hat and tell me, where was your state of mind when that happened?
Well, it's one of those things that when I got that close, I knew eventually it would happen. And I think the hardest part about it is that when we were at 699 the plane North Charleston.
Right.
And they came back and beat us, and then one of the kids that had played for me and previously Jamal Baldwin,
Right.
He was instrumental in them beating us, and on his way to the locker room, he was laughing. He said, 700 not tonight. I remember that one good. But Jamal, I always knew that he was going to be a good ball player. But what was happening in this city, unfortunately, he had to move and then move into that area. But he did great. But he spoiled my 700 against North Charleston.
Yeah.
But other than that, it was all good.
Yes.
Great.
And talk to me about the times going up to Columbia and playing in games there. What was that like for you?
Well, it was always a good feeling to get there.
Sure.
And, just unfortunately, we were knocking at the door of, out of the 5 trips to the state finals,
Right.
we should have won 4 of them.
Yeah.
2 we lost in overtime, and the 2 we lost because we didn't shoot free throws well and bad decisions. And then 1, I think when these kids, when Ralph and them were like
Oh yeah.
sophomores, I
Right.
believe. We just got manhandled by Southside, but we were in the ball game. But getting there, that's the key. And then, but we of the 5 times that I was there as a head coach, we just didn't finish.
Okay.
But there are plenty of coaches that would have loved to have been in that situation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, fill in the blanks for me. Burke High School is
one of the greatest institutions ever.
C.A. Brown was.
The greatest institution ever.
Yeah. Austin was.
Austin, great school at my beginning.
Yes. Fishing is.
Fishing is awesome.
Yes. Your favorite basketball or football game was, or still is.
Man, that it would have to be a Burke C.A. Brown basketball and game, and there were quite a few, and I think the one was that when we beat Burke, C.A. Brown beat Burke at County Hall,
That's right.
and they had Jonathan Moore.
Oh yeah.
And I had probably one of the shortest teams that I ever had, but some little kids that played, and I remember little man, James Williams, I think it was Alfred Walker, Gary Grant, Anthony Hill, those guys. That was one of the greatest games. We won that on a last second shot.
Okay.
Little Red stole the ball and headed down the court, and I was calling timeout to set up the last play, and he just dribbled down and hit it from the deep corner, and I went for the timeout.
Right. Yeah.
So that's one of the greatest.
Yeah.
We beat Burke in County Hall.
And you mentioned players. Who is your favorite player, football or basketball? It's a lot.
Favorite, I couldn't pick a favorite because at both places there were great kids.
Oh yeah.
And I just couldn't pick a favorite.
Okay.
I would have to get a favorite. I would have to have a group of about 20 kids. And it wouldn't be fair for me to number one of them out because all of them were great.
Yeah. JaVale President, all these folks.
Yeah, all of them were great kids. I had a couple of, even the bad ones.
Oh yeah. You scraped them up.
Oh yeah, even the bad ones were great because those are the ones I get most compliments from today. Because we had the times and that when I really had to discipline.
I remember that.
And they appreciate it. They appreciate it. But now you can't do that today. For some of the things that I did, man, today they'd build a jail on top of me. But the parents knew, and they, and a lot of them, they thanked me for helping them to raise their children because in a lot of cases there was no man in the house, and I think there was a moment at a banquet. One kid said, I was the only daddy that some of them had.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Let's turn to family. You haven't been married to your wife, Georgie, for over 40 years.
46.
Wow. Wow. For those who don't know her, because she's usually in the background and, you know, she's not out in the forefront like you are, who is Georgie?
My everything.
Yeah.
Best thing ever happened to me. And I think she was one that the Lord sent to me.
Oh, yeah.
Because when I met her, I was getting ready to do something stupid.
Uh-oh.
And it was a year before graduation, and our plan was to, a couple of my college mates and I, were just to take a year off and just travel the country. You know, we were going to buy an old ragged car like these guys on Route 66.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, we were just going to travel. But when she came in the picture, all of that changed, and it changed for the better, because I said, had I done that, man, ain't no telling where I would have ended up.
And from what I heard, she actually, I guess, kept you in the coaching business because you were gonna, I guess, retire or whatnot.
Well, not really. She just changed some of the things about me in the coaching business,
right.
Because you know, she sort of taught me how to not bring that stuff at home, you know, because sometimes after loss I'd come home and you know, and I'm mad and I'm just complaining, and one night I came and she said, just leave that at the door. leave that at the door. And,
yeah.
But you know, she put up with a lot, you know, with being away with the coaching and the game, yeah. But then eventually the kids were there with me now because they played for me.
Oh yeah.
And so at least the boys.
Oh yeah.
So which meant that she had to spend a lot of time with my daughter. Yeah, but yeah, she was a big supporter.
Yeah.
Big supporter.
And speaking of kids, we know about Earl Jr., but let's talk about the other two.
Well, Kevin is working in Homeland Security at the Pentagon.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, he's going to be in tomorrow to see his son play. His son is number 70 on the football team, my grandson.
That's good.
Yeah, so he's coming in tomorrow from Maryland to see him play.
Oh yeah.
And then my daughter is a registered nurse at MD Anderson in Houston, Texas.
Wow.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I'll be headed down to spend a little time with her first of November.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you know, we know that you have been a basketball coach, a football coach. You have been inducted into the Hall of Fame. So tell me, as you put on your thinking hat and when you look into your crystal ball, what's next for you?
What's next for me is just days of enjoyment.
Yeah.
And you know, I will spend a little time from time to time with some of the younger coaches, and maybe just going and visiting, and you know, if they ask, you know, I would volunteer to give them a day or two, but not a season, because yeah, I've got to get my fishing in.
Oh yes, of course.
And then I've got to get my time in with the guys on the block.
Oh yeah, east side.
yeah, man, that's and I tell you what, that's my joy.
Yeah.
To be there with those guys,
yeah.
You know, my friends.
That's right. Yeah.
And we just enjoy one another every day. We've got a little game that we play, and it's a good little mind game.
That's right.
Keep the mind going.
That's
and,
true.
Man, we just enjoy one another. Just a lot of fun.
Fun.
Just a bunch of old guys having fun. Yeah.
You guys have done that for years.
Yeah. You know, I started going down there. I think my junior year in high school when I played football at St. Brown. I started hanging out with the kids on that side.
Yeah.
And then I started shining shoes in that shoe shine.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And then started hanging out on that corner. And you know, I look back at now I own that corner.
That's right. That's true. That's true.
But it's a joy just to get up there and spend the time with it. And then some of the little kids, you know, I've fallen in love with some of the little kids over there. You know,
because they got them all parked.
Yeah, and just some of the little kids I see from time to time. You know, it's just a joy to see them, you know, and sometimes just to be able to just spend a little time and sometimes put them on my lap and, you know, and talk to them, yeah. And the only other thing now is the little project that we do little community project we do in June and Christmas Eve, where we kind of feed some of the folks in the community. And then on Christmas Eve, we started out with 2 bicycles about 4 years ago. And this year, I think we're going to have somewhere close to maybe 30, 40 bicycles to give away on Christmas Eve. So we're going to make even more kids happy this Christmas Eve, you know. And some who probably would not have gotten a bicycle.
That's true.
Come out and hopefully be lucky enough to win one.
Yes.
You know, so we just, and again, that's those old guys that sit around there on the block. You know, each one of them, we started talking about it, they said, well, I'll buy one. I'll buy one.
Yeah.
And then nobody wants to be outdone.
So I'll buy 2.
Yeah, and I've got a friend in Atlanta who just happened to hear about what we're doing.
Yeah.
And, you know, he said to put him down, he's going to give us 3. And you know, so that's the kind of stuff that I'm into.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And it's sort of giving back.
Yeah, for all those years.
Yeah, giving back.
Well, you know, Coach Earl Brown, this was so great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you for taking out your time to be here.
Anytime.